Hey everyone, it's me, Arthur Kade, and I've got half of the 12 Monkeys cast joining me on Behind the Velvet Rope. Make sure to check out the Season 2 premiere, April 18th at 9 o'clock on Syfy. Hey everyone, it's me, Arthur Kade, and after setting the cast of 12 Monkeys expectations extremely low by my interview skills, I will now prove you wrong. I will be like time travel and prove that it is all possible.
We look forward to that.
I hope so. Congratulations, guys. Season 2. I was telling Aaron that I was binge watching all weekend, so thanks for ruining my weekend. Oh, that was a great way of ruining my weekend.
You binge watched season 1 or
Season 1 of your show, and then I watched the first episode of Season 2 last night, so all I need from you guys, what happens the rest of the season, and we're done here. So tell me.
Yes, it'll just be an interview of spoilers.
That's all I want.
All right.
Congratulations. This show, it's blowing everybody's mind. I'm sure it's blowing your mind. So what's it like being part of it?
It's great, and you're right about the public response. It's been really overwhelmingly positive, and we've gotten so much feedback over social media, people reaching out on Twitter and telling us how much they love the show, and it's just very gratifying.
This is being adopted, obviously, from a cult hit. And I was just saying, I love the original movie. Terry Gilliam is one of my favorite directors. And coming from that platform, you almost have this expectation that it's going to be wrong. And yet you guys get it so right. And I love how the changes in the show have occurred from the movie. So do you find yourself being a fan?
I think on behalf of almost every single actor on this show, we were all fans of the original. However, no one was more fanatical about the original film than our two show creators, Terry Matalas and Travis Fickett. And I think they wanted to make sure they did the original justice, but didn't try to emulate it. And so we made a very obvious decision from the very beginning to have some of the original mythology and then just go on our own journey.
With a TV show, as opposed to a movie, with a movie you have 2 hours to essentially build these characters start to finish. You guys have this incredible story arc. I mean, we're left on this enormous cliffhanger for each one of you in season 1. That's why I want to know the rest. Once we're off camera, I'm going to really hammer you for season 2 details. But when you're left with the ability to create an arc for characters like this, for you guys as actors, what is that like?
It's fantastic, and I mean that's one of the best arguments for doing something like this, for rebooting a film into a TV series. As often as it goes wrong, when it's right, it's fantastic because it gives you the opportunity to tell an epic story, a novel-sized story. Whereas with film, a lot of the time you have 2 hours. It's basically a short story. With a TV show, you have 13 hours per season, potentially going on for multiple years. There's just so much opportunity for stories, so much opportunity for development, and it's just great.
I was thinking about you today because I was reading an article. I was thinking about,
Arthur, stop.
Have a great day, man. See you later.
I'm just gonna.
I was reading an article about Reese Witherspoon today. I think it was in the New York Times, talking about strong female characters and how her production company is all about developing movies around strong female characters. Your characters on this show are very strong female characters. They take no BS from anybody.
Absolutely.
Talk to me about being able to play a strong female character.
That was something that was most exciting about getting this role, is that Dr. Cassandra is my character's name. First of all, she's incredibly intelligent. She's a virologist, and then on top of that intelligence, she's witty, she's quick, she is, by the end of season 1, you realize that she's got some grit to her as well. And that goes sort of for almost every single female character on this show.
Very strong female
very,
characters.
very
all around.
strong women.
Yeah.
In their own respects.
Homemakers, that's for sure.
No, and even if they were, they'd probably do it better and tougher and stronger than anybody
Saving the
else.
world.
And absolutely, one biscuit at a time. You know, they're.
Well, I'd like to see the world saved by biscuits.
I think for
I actually
some-
just thought of my next. I thought of my next show
Sounds
pitch. I'm going to be in front of NBC. So imagine Martha Stewart saving the world
Yeah.
one biscuit at a
One
time.
shot put biscuit at a time. Yeah, no, it's really impressive, and the show was created by two men, which makes it even more unusual. But I think they're writing the roles that people want to see. Nobody needs to see a damsel in distress feeling sorry for herself, crying in the corner because she can't get her mission accomplished. That's not realistic anymore. I think people want to see themselves reflected on television, even in scripted television.
This is such a smart show. That's the other thing I love about it. It's not a basic plot and you like, oh, this is so boring after 2 episodes. Great, good-looking people, whatever. There's
Thank you again.
Well, no, you're gorgeous people. You're gorgeous guys. I love that there's so much going on between the time travel. We're delving into the past to deal with the future. There's so much going on at all times. You find yourself being a fan. Like, I would get these scripts. I've said this to people from Game of Thrones and other shows where it's like you're just literally, you can't believe writers are coming up with this stuff. Do you find yourself being a fan the whole time when you get these scripts and like, holy cow, how did they even come up with this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it's a ton of fun, and you're right about how the complexity of it. The show has so many different elements to it. It's a time travel show. It has elements of a horror genre. There's apocalypse genre. There's an epic romance. There's just so much happening, and all the characters are painstakingly created to be multifaceted, complex. The relationships are constantly shifting. Alliances are changing. There's so much going on that, yeah, it's from an acting standpoint, it's absolutely a gift. It's great.
Did it blow your mind? We mentioned the fans at the beginning. Has it really blown your mind? Like, you were just telling me you guys are going to the Smithsonian. You're going to be at Paley Center LA, which we just came back from. And I'm like, holy cow, this show is getting A-level treatment. I mean, that's how much the fans have taken to this thing. Has it blown your mind to see this fan reaction?
It's rewarding because I would be a fan of this show if I weren't on this show. And I think it's really nice. We work long days, but nobody works harder than the production to create this beautifully epic cinematic show. And to have people respect it and appreciate it like they have, I think is rewarding for every single department that's involved. We pour our hearts into this, and to get a response just validates the work that we know everyone is doing every single day.
It's a tricky genre to do right. And you know, I look at something like this and I'm like, this could have gone so wrong. When you were stepping in, what drew you to this specifically? When did you know, hey, this is a project I want to be a part of?
I mean, just reading the first script, it was a world that I wanted to inhabit, you know, and I knew both of the writers. I was familiar with their work. They had written for me before. And I just, you know, I'm a huge fan of this genre in general anyway. The opportunity to be part of a time travel story, and also be, an apocalyptic scavenger survivor, time traveling assassin. It's like, yeah, I want to do that.
How about for you?
Would you repeat the question? I just went on this journey with him and I lost my train of thought.
He just went into character on me. When did you realize this was something you wanted to be part of?
Oh, thank you. I think from the first script I read was great. It was solid. And then there were these revisions throughout the audition process, and it kept getting stronger and stronger. And she kept getting stronger and stronger and more defined in just who she was as a person. So I was able to understand where she was going to start, and then when they educated me on where she was going to go in the season, it was just icing on the top of this beautifully constructed cake. And I think with every single script, as you mentioned before, and what Aaron said, we are blown away. We are impressed. And that's just a further validation of how lucky we are to be involved in this project. The creativity and imaginations of these people who have developed this just are limitless.
So where do we see both of your characters go in season 2? I've read multiple stuff. Well, is that even correct English?
Yeah.
Multiple things on the internet coming out of the NBC press tour. Where do we see you guys go?
Well, we both start in sort of diametrically opposed places. So from the first season, there's a really interesting inversion of both their characters. My character starts off as sort of this very hardened killer, and she starts off as a doctor who must do no harm. And through their experiences together, they both end up kind of switching places, and she ends up becoming this woman of action. My character is someone who suddenly has pause and doesn't want to take a life quite so easily. So they start off in opposition, come together, and then their journey is sort of trying to find a way back to the middle.
It's interesting with Cassandra because obviously she's so by the book with the Hippocratic Oath in the beginning, and then she starts compromising herself when need be, and the compromise become more. Do you find yourself, is there ever a point where the boundaries get skewed and you're like, well, I wouldn't do this personally? Like, I would have so much trouble separating the character from myself at points.
You would have trouble separating yourself from a doctor who has decided then to do harm. I have a little bit more of an understanding about the boundaries just because it's been so very beautifully crafted. Her journey the arc was very slow. The burn, was very slow to get there. So it wasn't like all of a sudden she's just, tossing out her medical bag and picking up a Glock and ready to go take on the world. It was a very slow realization to, it's not just brain that's going to be able to accomplish this mission. I need to be able to figure out another way. The bad guys don't always listen to logic. There needs to be another way to accomplish this.
You guys are going to be traveling to the 40s, 50s, 60s, I've been reading. It sounds like there's going to be a lot of eras being explored in season 2, but I want to ask each one of you, if you could time travel and go to one specific era in history for each of you, what would that be?
I would like to go to the 1920s. I just think they had a lot of style back then. I'd like to go visit a speakeasy.
That's...
You look so shocked.
Because I'm like, he's
So
like the
shocked.
20s, and I'm like, well, there's going to be, he's like, I just want to go to a speakeasy and drink.
Yes.
I love it. How about you?
Belittle my dream.
I know that really withered
All right,
him
he wants
there.
to go drink. What about
I actually would do the speakeasy too. I don't know if you ever watched Boardwalk Empire, but I love that
do,
era,
yeah.
so I totally get it. How about you?
I wouldn't mind. I've said this before, but I need to make sure that there are caveats with this mission, with this journey. I would like to go and sit in a queen's court. Maybe even see what really went down with
Go on.
With I'm thinking about Anne Boleyn and Henry VIII. I don't want anything to do with what actually happened, but I want to see it. I want to witness it. I don't want to smell it, and I want to be able to get back to. I know you guys.
You want a taste of scandal?
No,
I'm on the edge of my seat.
I know. I want
wanna
to see
hear
the
all about
scandal.
it.
Why don't you go see a beheading?
Yeah.
Forget the 20s. I'm with you.
The old French
No.
Inquisition beheading.
I recently visited the Tower of London, and it was so interesting and exciting. I would love to see if it really all went down like that, and then get the heck out of there.
I love your show. I think I'm so excited about seeing where it goes in season 2.
you.
Can't wait to see the 40s, 50s. Like the different eras that you guys have explored from mid-21st century to going back to the present has been so cool. But like, I want to see how they play it, especially with the production value your show uses.
It's really
Yeah.
well done
Actually,
in
before-
season 2.
That's the most fun thing about season 2 is they finally used the time machine up to its full potential, and all, like you said, all those periods of time that hold all the nostalgia for all of us, we visit them and revel in them.
It blows my mind how real some of this stuff looks. How do they make it look so real? Like behind the scenes for you guys, do you realize it's going to look as good as it comes out on the TV screen?
I think that if you were to visit us on set, which maybe one day we'd
Set
have
visits, all about
we
it.
would love it. The time machine is pretty breathtaking. The room that it's in, when you first walk in, especially when they had the lights going, it's beautifully constructed. And then we have some fantastic DPs who create lighting that you don't realize until you see the screen just how impactful this beautiful shadowy cinematic lighting can advance the look of the show and the scene and the set.
How about the stunts? That's the other thing that I love. I mean, there's so much action. I was talking to Brittany Oldford, who's the star of Hunter's sister show, and like blows my mind the training the how much of that is you guys actually doing this stuff?
We do a fair bit. It's a really physical show. There's a lot of fights and chases and parkouring and running around and stuff like that. There is parkouring. Parkour's in everything now. You can't do action without parkour. Like it's like mandatory now. It's
You
bizarre.
guys are the best start to a morning ever. Can I just tell you that? Like 10 a.m. It's like first interview, and you never know what you're gonna get. And sometimes you're like, oh, that was not the start I wanted. This is perfect.
So we have tons of fun. I mean, when you're shooting 16 hours a day, a lot of people don't realize how repetitive a lot of this stuff can become, and how monotonous some of it can become. So breaking it up with these really, really active scenes is a ton of fun. And she has a bunch of action in season 2. Like I said, she kind of becomes the ass kicker of the show.
Is there a lot of training involved for you with that?
He was more familiar with a lot of the action, so he had a bit of a shorthand. He had actually also already worked with one of our fight coordinators on the show that he was on previously, Nikita. So he had a leg up, figuratively and literally. That was a dad joke.
That was great.
I needed to learn a lot of that. I wasn't as familiar with the action stuff, and they were really wonderful about giving me some weapons training. I can disassemble and reassemble an automatic weapon now, and I can load my own bullets and switch out a magazine without looking, which was really interesting and an education I never thought that I needed or wanted.
You come home and you're like, honey, check this out.
I know. And then they also gave me some fight training too, and I had never taken boxing lessons, and that was a lot of fun.
And hard work, by the way. Crazy
it
hard.
really is.
Best workout ever.
And you don't realize how mental a lot of the decision making is throughout the process, and that's something I came to respect. I can't say that I can watch people beat the bloody pulp out of each other without being uncomfortable about it, but I can respect the decisions that go into each little coordinated. I'm really not.
It's all movement.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all dance, basically.
He's an MMA fan, by the way. So.
I know he is.
By the way, is McGregor winning next fight or what?
That's a very tough call. I think for the first one, I think I was expecting him to win. I think I'm not so sure anymore. I think
He's
he might be
tenacious.
going down.
He's tenacious, though.
Yeah.
Guys, congratulations. Such a fun interview.